Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 630.
WMAL.
6:37 on WMAL. Oh, that's scary. It's scary because the Gang of Six plan, what is in it? The good, the bad, the ugly. Dan Mitchell, tax expert, is here to explain it to us. Dan, how you doing?
I am doing fine, Mary Catherine. How are you?
Great. I read your piece about the good, bad, and ugly in the Gang of Six. We don't know that much about the plan, but you've teased out a couple things. Let's start with the good. Are there good signs inside this plan?
Yes, there's something really remarkable that I think is worth applauding, which is the fact that these Senate Democrats who are part of the Gang of Six, in effect, told Obama class warfare isn't good for America. It's not good for competitiveness. It's not good for job creation. Instead of higher income tax rates, we want lower income tax rates. We want to bring the top income tax rate down to no more than 29%, maybe lower. We want to bring the corporate tax rate down to 29%, which is actually just a small step in the right direction, considering the average in Europe is now 23%. So there are some things that really are admirable in this plan, and I say that as someone who, as we'll get to, I'm not a big fan of the overall package.
Right, and so the corporate jet loophole, not a huge part of this. Not a huge puzzle piece.
That loophole, that was nothing but a political talking point for Obama as he was trying to fan the flames of class warfare.
So tell me about the bad.
Well, the bad, unfortunately, is that it would be a big net tax increase. I suppose I should admit that all we have is talking points, that there's not really a whole lot of meat on the bones, and so anybody who's talking about this is going to have to draw some assumptions based on these talking points.
Right.
They say at least $1 trillion of higher taxes. Some people who have looked at it think the number's actually a lot higher, and that's one of the things I'm afraid of. But actually, what worries me even more than the tax increase, they explicitly say in these talking points that describe the plan, we will not have any Medicare reform, we will not have any Medicaid reform, at least along the lines of what the chairman of the Budget Committee, Paul Ryan, is talking about. Those are the things that are going to make us Greece within 15 or 20 years. If we don't get control of those entitlements and reform them, we may as well, I don't know, stock up on bottled water and canned goods, because we're going to be in deep trouble.
Let me ask you this. This is what I never understand, Dan. I can't get my head around this. But this is part of a deal to raise the debt ceiling. But you still have to have a budget, right? I mean, we still have Paul Ryan's budget. Could you put those things, the Medicare, going after Social Security, in a budget down the road? I mean, explain to me the difference between this and coming up with a deal and an actual budget that we still have to have for next year.
That is the key question, because everyone, even me originally, was assuming, well, I guess they're going to magically pull off the shelf a complete budget and go through this wonky process called reconciliation to pass it into law as part of a debt limit. All that's happening here is that there's a commitment that we're going to raise the debt limit, maybe do $500 billion of deficit reduction, mostly by changing the definition of the Consumer Price Index, and we have a vague commitment that at some point over the next 6 months we'll do a new budget with this so-called reconciliation process and put all these things into law. Now, you probably all remember that old Charlie Brown cartoon strip where Lucy holds the football and asks him to kick it, and that used to come out every year, and Charlie Brown would say, no, you've done this to me before, you always pull the ball away, but she talks him into it at the end of the strip. Well,
she pulls the ball away.
Fortunately, we're going to have. You give me a higher debt limit today so I can borrow and spend more money, and then I vaguely promise at some point in the future we'll put together this budget. I just don't trust it. I don't want to believe that the check's in the mail or you're going to love me in the morning.
You mentioned the good and the bad, but you say the ugly is that the entire package is based on sort of dishonest Washington budget math that doesn't fly anywhere else.
Let me describe how it works. Imagine I told you I was going to go on a diet, and after a month I came to you and I said, Brian, this is really great news. I gained 5 pounds. And you said, wait, Dan, you said you were going on a diet. And I said, well, Brian, I was planning on gaining 10 pounds.
Right.
I only I lost 5 pounds. I mean, you think I'm joking. That is literally the way they do the budget. And so what you would see, if produce anything real from this, and we get to look at real numbers instead of just talking points, you will find out, if you actually go to the fine print and look at the table showing what spending will be this year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you will probably see that government spending 10 years from now is about $2 trillion higher. That's our best estimate we can make right now. Well, if government spending is increasing $2 trillion over 10 years, that's not a budget cut. It might be a reduction in the rate of increase, but be honest with the American people.
Right. I understand. I like the fact that they're dropping rates, especially, the corporate tax rate. But if they're doing that and you're saying that there's still a tax increase, where are the tax increases coming from? Because you're getting rid of all these deductions. And I guess my question would be, for middle-class people, they're thinking the two big things is the write-off you get for having kids and for having a mortgage. Is that involved in here? Are we going to get rid of those things?
Well, this is one of these let's find out what's behind door number 2 moments. We don't have a lot of details, but you're exactly right. If we're going to have a big net tax increase like they say, and it's at least $1 trillion and could be easily double or triple that, and they're saying they're going to lower tax rates, obviously there's a whole lot of tax preferences and other tax provisions that are on the chopping block. That could mean that at the very least, there's going to be a haircut or a limit on things like the home mortgage interest section, which won't upset me. I'm a flat tax guy. I want to get rid of all the corruption and loopholes in the tax system. But it could mean, and this is what I'm very worried about, that they're going to increase the double taxation of things like dividends and capital gains. I don't like the IRS getting one bite at the apple, but if we're going to double tax our income because we save and invest, that's actually very, very bad for the economy. That's what drives, I don't want to sound wonky, but capital formation, saving investment. That's where job creation and productivity comes from. That's where our wages come from.
Well, Dan, keep poking and prodding around and getting more information about this Gang of Six thing, because it does seem to be one train that may leave the station and get some support. We appreciate you joining us here on the Morning